Get Bowser YouTube 6-foot hacks here. Got for you guys today week 3 of the Valhalla Pokemon League. Now a little story behind why this is post narrated and not live narrated. And well, long story short, for some reason my audio didn't record, and I don't know why, because I literally checked the audio before I clicked play and it was recording, and then I stopped, tried to edit it later that night or later last night, and there was no audio, so I have to post narrate it today on Monday. So this will be going up hopefully around Monday later today. And it's also my birthday, so I am turning 22, so I feel a little bit old. But yeah, today is my birthday. Thanks to everybody who has already wished me a happy birthday on Twitter. And yeah, hopefully we can pull out a W on my birthday and not lose here. But I apologize for no team building video again. And honestly, I'm probably not going to do those, just because I even explained why in the live version. But it's because I don't want to take this league so seriously, and I feel like trying to do a team building video is trying to make this a little more serious than it really has to, if you get what I'm trying to say, because this is supposed to be kind of like a off-season fun league, not off-season, but side league, or again, I can just practice on my team building and practice on my picking and trading and stuff like that. So I don't want to take it too seriously like I did last year when I did the EXPNU and the UCL, and I took the EXPNU a little too seriously, and I think that kind of took focus away from the UCL. And like I said, I want to focus more on the UCL, so no team building videos, but I will be explaining the team before. Hold on, maybe I have it here. Yeah, like I'll be doing this, like I'll be going through the Pokemon real quickly. Just explaining for like maybe 4 or 5 minutes what the team is, what I'm expecting them to bring, and I'll put a timestamp for those of you who don't want to hear me ramble on about the teams when I do talk about them. But yeah, everything is basically Speed EV to outspeed Sneasel, which my opponent could have brought because I do have Slow King. It's good against Registeel too. I could just go Adamant Mega Lopunny, and this is actually a really good showcase of why I wanted to use Mega Lopunny, is because I can literally just go Adamant and outspeed everything on my opponent's draft, bar or Scarfer or something at +1 speed that has set up. And my opponent can't do anything about it but prep for Adamant Mega Lopunny. Like I would have to be foolish to run Jolly Lopunny in this matchup. there's literally no reason for me to run Jolly unless I want to be bulky for some reason. But I can go straight Adamant, just standard Mega Lopunny, and my opponent can't do anything about it but accept it, which is really awesome. We have defensive Arcanine with enough speed to outspeed speed creeping Miltank, 4 attack mixed Greninja, because even though we aren't Protean, Gunk Shot still does more damage to Florges than any of our other moves. Samson with Carver Berry for the Sneasel, Scarlet AV, which originally had Pursued over Hidden Power Ice, and Bruno had Hidden Power Ice over Earthquake, and you're gonna see that the change to Earthquake on Bruno and Hidden Power Ice on Scarlet actually really plays a couple of roles in this match. But yeah, that is the team that I'm bringing, but I will go in more detail and more in depth in next week's match, and you guys kind of get a better understanding of what I mean exactly, of what exactly I mean that I'm going to do. So yeah, I think that's all I really have to say. Our opponents this week are the eDinburgh Nites. My opponent's channel link will be down in the description. If I forget, please leave a comment and remind me, because I don't want to forget his channel. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the team. So obviously my opponent didn't bring Miltank, and he didn't bring Sneasel, which were the 2 mons I thought he was going to bring over Entei and Gengar. But he did bring Entei and Gengar. Not too sure why when I have a Skunk Tank and an Arcanine. But hey, if Skunk Tank and Arcanine go down, then Entei and Gengar could definitely put in some work. So I do have to play around those and preserve Arcanine and Skunk Tank. Mega Latios, depending on what kind of set it is, could be a bit of a problem. I'm not really too sure though. I mean, if it's like Calm Mind, like sub Calm Mind, and I lose Skunk Tank, then maybe it could be a bit of an issue. But I don't think that the team is weak enough to the point where I can where that would actually happen. Calm Mind Virizion could be a huge issue. If it's Swords Dance, then that's actually not that big of a problem because we have Arcanine which can deal with it. Actually, another huge change was so this was Will-O-Wisp, but right before the match I made it Extreme Speed, and that plays another huge annoying role in this match. Okay, so I realized I made a bit of an error and you guys can't see all the full EV spreads properly on the Mons here, so I apologize about that. But again, everything will be better next week, so yeah, just bear with me guys. I don't have much free time and just I apologize for the error. Anyways, back into the team preview. Virizion, not an issue. If it's Swords Dance, if it's Calm Mind, could be a bit of a nuisance. Florges, I have Registeel, so even if it's Calm Mind, I should be able to Toxic and Iron Head it and eventually beat it 1v1. Gligar should not be an issue so long as it's not immunity, because in that case I can just Toxic it with Arcanine. If it is immunity, then it's gonna be slightly annoying. But yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and get this started. So I think I just end up leading off with Slowking, considering the fact that it's literally the perfect lead against his entire team, and I'm pretty positive that he's not gonna want to lead Gengar because I do have Lopunny, which can just come in, which obviously can be a lead, fake out, Mega Evolve, and all that. So was very positive he wouldn't lead with Gengar, and very positive that he wouldn't lead with Virizion for the same fact that, again, Lopunny can just fake out Mega Evolve and outspeed and KO. So Slowking by far was my best lead against any of his other 4 Mons, and if he did lead Latios, it could maybe have Toxic, but I think he would want to go with a Calm Mind variant, more offensive variant, because that would be able to beat Skunk Tank and Registeel potentially. But he ends up leading off with the Entei as we do lead Slowking, and this is absolutely amazing because now I can pretty much just go ahead and Scald. And he ended up putting something in the chat saying, people watching, I'm a scrub, XD, smiley face. So yeah, just putting that out there. So I end up switching into Registeel as he doubles into Entei, and I was very close to bringing in Slowking, and honestly, now that I look at it and that I rewatched the replay, I probably should have been switching in Slowking to Entei so I could get burned instead of Toxic, because throughout this whole match you're going to see that I play very safely for the first like half of this game, because I'm trying to scout out to see if he is able to status Slowking or not, because Slowking late game with Calm Mind, Slowking late game with Calm Mind can sweep his team so long as he doesn't have Toxic. But even if he gets burned, I can still beat his team late game, just not get Toxic. And you're gonna see that play a role. So I do end up bringing in Arcanine here. I can just go ahead and fire off a Toxic in hopes that maybe he would want to bring in Latios. If he did bring in Gligar, again, I'm pretty sure he's not going to be immunity, and of course he is immunity Gligar. And you know what move I changed right before this match? Will-O-Wisp. That was so frustrating. So I switch into Slowking here. I'm gonna go ahead and double into Registeel, scouting out for the Toxic, but he makes a very good play and ends up going for the U-turn. I'm assuming he didn't go for rocks just because we could defog them away with Skunk Tank, even though he doesn't know we're Assault Vest. Maybe he thought that we did have defog. So he does U-turn into the Entei here, which honestly does not matter whatsoever. I have Arcanine. Again, should have switched into Slowking so I could have got the burn, but it's fine. As I do bring in Arcanine, he does just safely Sacred Fire, and I really have no reason to not just stay in here. I can go ahead and Flamethrower, or I can try to Toxic again, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to risk bringing in Latios. So assuming or predicting him to want to bring in the Gligar, I stay in and end up going for the Flamethrower, as we still do a decent chunk of damage to the Entei. So as long as he's not able to pass off a Wish to Entei, then Entei is looking to be not a problem whatsoever, as he makes a nice play here, aggressively switches into the Latios, knowing that I wouldn't go for the Toxic and most likely go for the Morning Sun, considering the fact that Arcanine, the only role I need Arcanine to fulfill in this match is to switch into Entei, and if possible I can also Toxic Latios, but mainly Arcanine is just here to consistently switch into Entei, and then Arcanine after that will just be mainly death fodder. Although even if I had switched into Slowking earlier after getting burned, I probably would have just gone back into switching into Arcanine, mainly into Entei, for those of you wondering. But yeah, he ends up bringing in the Gligar here. Obviously I don't want to stay in and take a non-intimidated Earthquake, so I'm going to go ahead and switch into Samson, as he's going to end up going for the U-turn, and he's going to go ahead and U-turn into the Latios, and I'm thinking, okay, so we can go for the Scald, and this is fine because we can get a burn off on whatever he decides to U-turn into. Unfortunately, we do actually get the burn on Latios and scat out. Shout out to Scatty. Shoddy. I think that's his name. Shaddy. I don't know. But yeah, shouts out to my boy Scatty. So it is actually kind of bad that we burned him, because it would have been much better to Toxic him, especially if he didn't have any form of being able to get rid of the status, because Toxicing Latios means that we would have been able to consistently rack up damage every time it stayed in. Now unfortunately it will be only taking 12% every turn, but once you think about it, 12% every turn is still a lot. It would have been a lot easier to deal with Latios if we were able to Toxic it. So he's going to go ahead and Mega Evolve here, and finally he reveals a Toxic as I do bring in Bruno. So I was actually very close to staying in with Slowking there. Luckily I did switch, as I'm going to be able to get up my rocks. He's going to go for the Recover, and because he had Toxic, I was kind of thinking that maybe he had Defog because he has Immunity Gligar, and I'm still pretty positive you can't have Immunity and Defog. So he most likely does have Defog on the Latios, and it doesn't really matter if he wants to stay in here. The burn along with Iron Head is doing enough damage to Mega Latios to where I can just stay in and just consistently spam rocks in Iron Head and maybe beat it 1v1. So if you've been keeping up with this Gligar, it's revealed all 4 of its moves. Do you know which move it doesn't have? Do you know which move I was really upset to not see on this Gligar? He has Toxic, he has U-turn, he has Earthquake, and he has Stealth Rocks. He doesn't have Roost on this Gligar, so I leave in Slowking thinking, hey, he's just gonna U-turn into the Gengar, most likely expecting me to go for the Scald this turn. That way he gets Gengar in, maybe he can set up a sub, maybe he can go for Shadow Ball, Will-O-Wisp, Sludge Wave, and he goes for Toxic! So it was at this point that I was like, well, can't sweep with Slowking anymore, so it's 100% at this point just a pivot. I'm just going to switch it in and out to eat any attack that I needed to eat. I can force it out. I can still potentially get up one Calm Mind if need be to beat something, but I don't think that ends up happening. So he's going to end up going for the Recover, and here. So these next 2 turns are really upsetting. Game changing? I don't know. Upsetting? Yes. So I'm Assault Vest. I can take any move he wants to go for. He's burned, so Earthquake, if he has it, is not going to hurt me. So what I can do here is just stay in and just go for Crunch. If you look at his team, he doesn't exactly have anything that wants to safely switch into Skunk Tank, and he's not going to risk bringing in Virizion. Actually no, he's not going to risk switching out at this amount of HP, because if I do go for Pursuit, he's going to be severely weakened to the point where he comes in after burn, I think he'll be knocked out, or he'll be extremely low. So if I can keep up offensive pressure, then Mega Latios would just go down and not do anything in this match. So what I do here is I'm actually going to stay in and I'm going to go for the crunch. So he's going to go for the recover. He gets brought back up to full HP. I don't know his spread, although I know that he is a defensive set. That leads me to believe he is a physically defensive variant to be able to take potential crunches and physical attacks coming from Mega Lopunny as well. So I go for the crunch, I get a crit, and it does 87%. I'm not the best at math, but I'm pretty sure that still would have done around like 45 or 50%. Please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but it still would have done about 50% along with the burn. We probably still could have beat this Latios. It would have been a whole lot longer. And again, if he did try to play around Pursuit, we don't have Pursuit on this set, by the way. We don't have Pursuit, but if he did play around it, then he most likely would have just left in Latios. He could have probably actually got away with switching out if he did want to, and then that could have led to him maybe saving Latios for later. But like I said, I'm pretty sure we still would have been able to beat Latios in the long run of the match and keep Skunk healthy enough to, well, no, I mean keep Registeel healthy enough for the Gengar and for the Florges, because he's about to reveal his last move here, because he has Toxic, Recover, and Defog, and he's gonna go for the Draco Meteor, and he misses. So that miss actually really sucked, because he could have got off a huge amount of damage on Skuntank to the point where it probably couldn't have lived a hit from Gengar, but I'm not too sure. Again, I don't know his spread, but we were assault vested. But just, yeah, it really sucks that we completely just haxed of all people, Scatty here to death. But I don't know if it was game changing. You guys can decide on that. So another crunch will be able to knock out the Mega Latios here, as he's gonna end up bringing in the Gligar. I don't want to stay in because I can still save a Skuntank to Poison Jab the Florges, Poison Jab Virizion, or just fodder it off to a Virizion, and then crunch the Gengar, and I have Hidden Power Ice for the Gligar. So he's gonna U-turn into Virizion, and like I said, as long as this is not specially offensive Virizion, then I'm not worried at all. You know what it is? You know what it is? It's specially offensive. And this is actually not that bad, because all I really need to do is stay in with Arcanine here, and I'm pretty sure that Fake Out plus High Jump Kick or Return is enough to knock out Virizion. If not, then he's pretty much forced to switch out. He is then forced to bring in Entei and E-Speed, in which case I could bring in Slowking on, and I'm pretty sure that E-Speed doesn't 2-hit KO Slowking. I'm not too sure though, but the reason why I'm bringing up this scenario is because Virizion is kind of going to play a similar role to Mega Latios, and he ends up missing the Focus Blast. I'm pretty sure he actually... No, it was actually a roll at the amount of HP that we were at. I'm pretty sure it was a roll at the amount of HP that we're at for Focus Blast to have knocked us out there. So I end up making a bit of a dumb play, and I go for Toxic. In hindsight, I should have really gone for the Flamethrower, as a +1 Focus Blast is going to be able to easily 2-hit KO us. I'm not too sure what his final move was. If it wasn't anything that we resisted, I think he should have gone for that over trying to go for another Focus Blast here, because unfortunately Arcanine is well trained and he's gonna dodge another Focus Miss, and I can just Morning Sun, and honestly Morning Sun in there was my best move to go for. I could have gone for E-Speed and just sacked off Arcanine to kind of make up for the miss, but I'm trying to win. Still having fun, but I like to win. But yeah, it really sucks that we haxed this Virizion and we haxed the Latios. I didn't want or need the hacks, but just that really sucks. So we're able to get rid of Virizion as he ends up bringing in the Gengar. I'm just gonna sack off Arcanine here. but we're actually able to chew the Sludge Wave and get off a huge hit on the Gengar, as he ends up switching up moves and going for the Shadow Ball, assuming that, I don't know, maybe he thought that we would switch into Registeel? But no, at this point I'm just sacking off Arcanine, and he doesn't want to go down. As in comes the Florges. I end up going for the Toxic on the off chance that maybe he wanted to go for a Calm Mind, but he ends up going for the Moonblast, as I'm going to go ahead and bring in Mega Lopunny and go straight for the Fake Out. I don't see leftovers, and then this Fake Out does 41%. I know I'm adamant, but Florges by no means is that fragile. So I am 90% sure, or I was 90% sure at this point in the match, that this had to be Scarfed. So I still have a Registeel at full HP, so that's pretty dope. I can go ahead and switch directly into Registeel and force him out regardless, as that Moonblast does a decent little chunk of damage. And I think I actually double switch into Slowking here, knowing that he most likely would just bring in the Gligar, and even if he brought in Entei, Slowking can still beat Entei 1v1. So he's gonna end up going for the U-turn, as I believe I just go for the Scald, and I'm guessing he just decides to sack off Entei here, or maybe thinking I would go for the Psyshock, predicting the Florges, which I guess is kind of understandable. But at this point I think I was just trying to sack off Slowking, as he does end up bringing back in the Gligar. I am gonna go ahead and just Scald it, as we're able to take the Earthquake. And here I actually thought about something. I was like, does differential actually matter in the VPL? And I still don't know, so I have to ask Sky about that. But that's actually why I switch out here and decide to bring in Registeel, and I can just Iron Head, and Bruno is going to be able to pick up the final KO here. So if we hadn't had Haxed Latios and we hadn't have Haxed Virizion, it would have been a much closer game and a much longer game and a much better game, I think. But unfortunately, Hax does yeah, it does that. But yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy this week's VPL match. Of course, next week's match will be up on Monday as well. And with that being said, guys, I will see you all tomorrow or the day after that, most likely. So thank you all for watching, guys, and yeah, later everybody.